Hey man, let's talk about religion.
Sign on the street says you don't own me. Sign on a porch says three's a crowd. Sign on a porch says the three's a crowd.
All right, and because 3 is a crowd, I'm here today once again out of the bunker in the apartment. Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful day. Oh my god,
The wind is so nice.
lovely. There goes my notes. We're here today to talk about a little song called God Knows from 1990s Under the Red Sky, but it was recorded for the sessions for Oh Mercy, which came out in 1989. So we listened to both versions of it. And Kelly, how was your week with God Knows?
God knows I need you. God knows I do. God knows there ain't nobody ever gonna take the place of you. God knows I can take it. God knows that
I don't like this song very much. There's nothing inherently wrong with it other than it says the word God.
It's pretty inoffensive, really. It's more just...
times.
I mean, I guess
Counted, actually.
I say inoffensive, but the first line is "God knows you ain't pretty." So I guess
Yeah.
tad offensive, I suppose.
Well, that's gonna
Get
be
some tact, God, or Bob. Really, God's probably like, "No, I think you're beautiful." Bob's
Right.
like, "Girl."
that was my biggest gripe with this song. That's why I like the other version better. Because the lyrics, if you go to bobdylan.com, which would be the official, right? I mean, if there's going to be an official version.
Yeah, if there's an official version, it's gonna favor the studio recording, not the bootleg, if you will. Even though it's a sanctioned bootleg, they're not gonna. It's like changing the lyrics for Tangled Up in Blue. They're not going to put every single
Right.
iteration. And apparently he's also played the song live a bunch. I think over 200 times at least. So it's definitely one that he's probably changed even today.
Did you say he had never done Outlaw Blues live?
Except for once with Jack White
Oh.
in 2007, I think they did it when he was in Nashville.
Yeah, he's doing this one a million times over.
He's doing this one, yeah. And apparently, I was just kind of looking it up, like when he had done it, and I guess there was a Woodstock '94. I guess there was like a
94 and 97, I believe.
yeah. Then they had the 30th anniversary, whatever. The Woodstock with Limp Bizkit is all I can see.
With all the mud and the raping.
Yeah,
and
right.
Yep.
This one
just
was the
generally
one
awful.
before.
It wasn't a fun Woodstock type love fest. It really turned violent. It turned ugly. It was really a dark moment in music, and instead of stopping the show, Fred Durst stoked the flames.
3 days of music, peace, and love ended with arson and rioting early today at Woodstock 99.
And apparently he played like a pretty big set, and this was the era of like the MTV Unplugged, so it was like I like that version of the band. But apparently he played a bunch of hits, and then they threw in God Knows, and in the Bob Dylan Encyclopedia, even Michael Gray has to note, out of all the songs that he sort of puts in that Woodstock reference, in the dictionary, he notes that, God Knows, it was like, why is this song here? Like everybody just sort of tuned out, and so did Bob Dylan. So it's like, even that song, he just like, why is it there? Because it was the last studio album. Maybe you're picking one song from it. I don't know.
God knows I need you. God knows it's true. God knows ain't gonna be here anybody in the world for me but you. God knows it's a struggle. God knows it's a crime. God knows ain't gonna be no more water but fire.
This record, I think it lends itself to the nursery rhyme sort of thing. I mean, we joke about Wiggle Wiggle, but this song is on the same album as Wiggle Wiggle.
You joke about Wiggle Wiggle. I take it very seriously.
Very seriously. So anyways, I mean, this is almost such a simple, if we go on the idea that all of these songs are some sort of like a nursery rhyme type of thing, which we can definitely get into whenever we get this full record. But even with this song, the repetition's nice. it's got a nice flow to it. I mean, it doesn't have a chorus, which is totally Bob Dylan, you know. It's just, but it's such a, the hook is there, and it's creative enough that it literally just isn't God knows every single time. I mean, there is something of a tale being told, but weirdly, I think both versions tell a very different type of tale. And I personally also like the Telltale Signs version better because I think I want to get to know that God a little bit more than the other God, you know? And I think that that's kind of interesting.
I have questions.
Yeah.
Okay, you said Telltale Signs version. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the Bootleg Series Volume 8, Telltale Signs.
Okay. So what I keep referring to as the Oh Mercy version because it's a bootleg from...
Well, they call it, essentially on Spotify, the reason you say it is that it says unreleased, comma, Oh Mercy.
Right.
Sessions, maybe. Yeah. So that Telltale Signs from 2008, I don't know what year it came out. I think it was 2008. Just, yeah. The Bootleg Series Volume 8 is stuff from that time frame. So basically the late 80s, early 90s.
But the record that it would have went on was called Oh Mercy, and that's why?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a take from Oh Mercy.
Gotcha.
And I think Born in Time is another one that's on this album, Under the Red Sky, that would have been on as well. So it was recorded before and sort of brought back. So it almost has a different sort of feel. I think of the songs that I can right away name on there, Wiggle Wiggle being one of them, this is better than the rest of that album. But I'm curious because a lot of people really ride or die for this album. It's kind of like Street Legal where they're like, maybe it is good. Let's keep looking at it. I can't go that far, but I haven't listened to it in full in forever.
Every time you talk about Wiggle Wiggle or just say it, I want to know more. I want to hear it so bad, but I'm like almost saving myself.
Yeah, I think you should save it because it's certainly going to be something. We will definitely listen to it before we listen to Blind Willie McTell. That's for sure.
Even if that doesn't happen organically, you will manufacture that.
In some way, that'll be the last one we ever do.
Blind Willie McTell? Yeah.
I think the gods are going to look down on that in some way.
You want to know what I thought about the song?
Yeah, what do you think about the song?
Okay, so the Oh Mercy version, which I'm going to here on out refer to it as that, the one that you said from the bootleg, whatever.
That's fine, yeah.
Yes. That version, one, is superior in my eyes, and two, for some reason, inexplicably, yet another Muppets vision.
Oh no!
In my head.
All right, who's here?
Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, who are the Grateful Dead-esque band in the Muppets.
Nice.
That jangly guitar, that bang, bang, dang, dang, dang. For some reason I was like, that's a fucking Dr. Teeth song. Although the only Dr. Teeth song I could find on Spotify sounds nothing like it. So yet again, we have this weird amalgamation happening in my head where the song actually sounds nothing like the Muppets song, but here we are. But I just like, for some reason, that just beat, it just reminds me of Muppets just kind of flopping back and forth.
Fact is, there's nothing out there you can't do. Yeah, even Santa Claus believes in you. Reach down your walls, begin, believe me, big guy. Be a better drummer, be an up-and-comer. Can you picture that? Tie your baggy hat.
And that's definitely what this whole record gets pegged for. It's just like, I mean, Michael Gray always calls it like rockism. It's just like taking those just boring elements. I mean, I would call it something like butt rock. You know, it's just so ineffectual and so boring.
Nothing.
Yeah, but what's weird and what I did not know until we started kind of looking deeper into this, Under the Red Sky had more. I mean, guest artists are not a Bob Dylan staple. I mean, rock doesn't often do that unless it's like a concert or something like that. But there were so many people that guest starred on this album. So when you're talking about jangly guitars, we could be getting guitars from, and I don't know exactly. Maybe I can find that information. If I do, you can read our show notes on our website. But Jimmy Vaughn, Slash, Elton John, George Harrison, David Crosby, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Bruce Hornsby.
Holy
all
shit.
were a part of this art project, which is bizarre because you think putting all those people together, and Harrison and Dylan at this point are doing the Wilburys, so that's also a factor in here, which the Wilburys almost, those songs are super silly, and I feel like some of that silliness has sort of come in here. But you read the Bob Dylan encyclopedia, that dude, you know, Michael Gray has this like 6 pages of like the nursery rhymes in on this record, and like breaking it down, like all these old nursery rhymes from like back in early America that Bob Dylan's taking from and sort of inverting the meanings of these words. I mean, I'm fascinated by that. This is not one of those. You know,
I was gonna say, does this have a direct connection to?
Yeah, this one doesn't, because this one I think is a No Mercy cut, so it's just kind of like re-recorded it for that. So it's not really one of the nursery. Like Handy Dandy is a good one. You know, Wiggle Wiggle is another one where it's like they have a very specific type of nursery rhyme. This is not so much that. Although the God Knows, I think, fits the narrative if you're trying to like. And this whole album is dedicated to his 4-year-old kid, so it's almost like. I don't know. A lot of people made the point that I think is legit, is that even though the first part of the God where he's saying you ain't that pretty, I think sometimes while we can joke about that, it's also good to know, like, you're not all that. You're not the shit. Like, even though you're not pretty, like, you have other qualities. Everybody is beautiful and whatever on the inside. The outside are just our meaty little carriages with which we walk around. And I mean, I think it's humbling to just be like, and so people have likened it to like Bob Dylan in the 1980s going up there and saying that if you don't believe in Christ, you're going to hell. And then a decade later, we've got him coming down from his stroke where he's like, you know what, man, God's cool. God knows. God's fine. You know, so it's less of a vengeful God and more of kind of just a chill God. I mean, the God of this song is kind of cool.
Wait,
I mean, I don't have any
literal
problem.
Stroke?
No, I was kidding.
Oh, okay.
Because he loses his mind.
Oh, yeah.
There's moments in concerts in the 1980s where he stops the band.
There's only two kinds of people, like the preacher says. Only two kinds of people. Color don't separate them, neither does their clothes. You still want to rock and roll. I'll tell you what the two kinds of people are. No matter how much money you got, there's only two kinds of people. There's saved people and there's lost people. Now remember that, I told you that. You may never see me again. I may not be through here again. You may not see me. Sometime down the line, you remember you heard it here, that Jesus is Lord.
So about that, for one, it took me a while to realize that there was different lyrics in both the versions, because the music is definitely different, but I guess I wasn't paying that much attention. I didn't notice until today, which was like many, many days into this, that the lyrics were different. Yeah, I don't like any of the other version, the actual studio version of it. The lyrics piss me off. You ain't pretty, but I get that. I get what you're coming from, and I just think it's really interesting how different the song is, because the Oh Mercy version I think is a lot better. Like, you go from those first lines of God Knows You Ain't Pretty in the studio version to God Knows I Need You. I think we're telling a really different but still powerful thing. Yeah. In both versions, and I really like the first one better. I like it musically better and I like it lyrically better.
I think so too. I think that it really hits a little bit harder, and I think it's even more relatable, because I think a lot of people, if you're secular and don't really care for the Bob Dylan, you know, sort of Jesus moments, you sort of make it about a loved one. You make it about a significant other. You make it about a romance, guy or girl. It almost doesn't matter. It's with this, I think it's a lot easier, because saying something like "I need you," you know, even God Knows I Do, that's something I could find myself saying. You know, it's like a lot of those moments you're like, oh, I can feel that a lot more. Yeah, I mean, I think that the Oh Mercy version could have almost fit anywhere, and it was better than Under the Red Sky. And apparently he was writing this up to the moment of it being recorded. So even in his mind, he's like just constantly moving. But I think he kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, even at the ending, it's kind of fun. You know, it's like God knows there's a purpose. God knows there's a chance. God knows we can rise above the darkest hour under any circumstance. I mean, that's nice. The other version, the official version, is God knows there's a heaven. God knows it's out of sight. God knows we can get all the way from here to there, even if we got to walk 1,000,000 miles by candlelight.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
and it's like, that's a different thing where it's like
so much darker. It is
darker. Yeah.
It's worse. And I don't want to go through all the lyric differences, because the song is pretty.
Well, there isn't any lyric differences. They're literally a different song. Like, nothing is even just a little bit of a thing. I mean, really, it's just the intro, outro. What is the feel of the song? I think that the Telltale Signs one, the Oh Mercy one, is it hit me more, and musically it was better. Although something that was interesting about the Under the Red Sky one is that it's a long intro of music, which is very un-Bob Dylan. So that was pretty weird to just have kind of like, I'm just playing music for a minute. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, somebody gave, Stevie Ray Vaughan the guitar that day. I mean, you know what I mean?
Maybe, right?
I mean, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes it weird. It's almost uncharacteristic. And then the fade out. I mean, when you brought up the fade out to me earlier, I was just trying to justify and play devil's advocate. I was like, well, God knows you could just say this forever and ever. So it's almost like fading it out almost gives it a little bit more of a point. Like, I could just go on for hours. Do you want me to go on for hours? And of course people would be like, yeah, Bob, go on. And I'm like, no, that's fine. But it's still just really jarring. It's jarring. I don't like it. So I the other one is much more of a fully fledged song that doesn't have to be a part of Under the Red Sky for it to like make sense. Because apparently they all fade out. So cool.
God knows there's a chance. God knows he can rise above the darkest hour over any circumstance. God knows there's a heaven. God knows it's out of sight. God knows we can get all the way from here to there. We gotta walk a million miles by candlelight.
Whatever.
Cool.
But see, I think the impact of how different they are, you have to look at them together. I think you're right that they are different enough that they could be two different songs. I mean, musically they're very similar, and obviously the lyrics kind of in the same style. But I think it's really interesting and important to look at what was changed, because certain things, it's like for the studio version, God knows it's a struggle, and in Oh Mercy, it's God knows I can take it. Like you're dealing with two different people. You're dealing with somebody who's like nihilistic and done with everything in the studio version, who like sees the worst in everything, who thinks this guy is vengeful and awful, and then in Oh Mercy version, it's somebody who's trying, who's like possibly succeeding, but they're thinking the best. Like you have two very different sides. Somebody's an optimist in the Oh Mercy version, and then the complete pessimist, like shitty version in the other one.
It's almost like harkening back a little bit to what I was saying before. It's like, if this is for your daughter, your 4-year-old daughter, you dedicated the album to her. If that's for her, which version do you want better? You know, it's like, I would want the one that's sort of, I don't know, a little bit more uplifting. Not that you have to hide it, but she's a 4-year-old. Mm-hmm. I mean, what type, fire and brimstone, or do you want to usher her into like accepting that about her or her dad or whatever, you know? Yeah. It is jarring. It's interesting.
Fun, actually, like the God knows it's a crime for the studio versus God knows that I care for the Oh Mercy version. So much better. God don't call it treason versus God knows there's an answer. Like, you know, it's, I don't know. There's just so much. I don't know why the one is so negative. And this one was interesting, I thought. So for the studio version, God knows it's terrifying. But then in the Oh Mercy version, God knows I'm ready. Like, I'm brave. I'm ready. I'm like, I don't know. It's
well,
so
what would
different.
what would you think if in some way, again, we don't have to go 1-to-1, but what if all of that was in one version of the song? You know, we've done very long songs now with 16 different verses. What if this one was one song of 16, all of these
contradictory verses?
Well, I mean, in a way, it's Bob Dylan is nothing but contradictions all the time. Yeah. And it's almost, with these two versions, he's creating a pretty strong summation of how he feels about God, either over time or even just within his own self. We've talked a lot about Bob Dylan and all these other versions of him. I mean, is this not just him in the moment doing Oh Mercy and then re-recording it for Under the Red Sky? I mean, these are two different songs, but they have the same sort of flow. But could they not be incorporated together, and we would maybe be reading it in a different way? I mean, it's interesting to think about, because I'm with you. I think both are strongly opposite. They're not just like the same song, just with kind of different lyrics. It's not like Tangled Up in Blue,
right,
where it's like a little bit different,
but thematically pretty much the same.
But thematically the same. These are just, they're different.
Absolute
they're
opposites,
different.
which is so.
And if they were together, it would be like, okay, well, fine, I guess. I mean, I'm terrified, and now there ain't no rhyme or reason, and yeah, you just going from one to the other, which I think is wild.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about the music, why I enjoy the first one better, the Oh Mercy. I keep saying first one because we made a little playlist, and that's the one.
Right.
That
I think
first.
people, if they're listening, are catching on to which one you like better.
Apparently, my note about the song was, God is a creep.
Oh.
Because God knows everything.
Well, that's true. I guess that's almost the point.
Yeah. So musically, that noise, that guitar noise in the Oh Mercy version, that grang, I fucking love that noise so much. It happens throughout the whole whole song, and it doesn't happen in the other version. And I can't figure out if it's somebody doing a really slow downstroke on the guitar, like hitting all 6 strings, or if it's a quick strum, like I can't figure it out. But I fucking love it all the same.
Well, and that's also interesting because they are very different musicians. I mean, he went again and did what he always does. Michael Gray summed it up as, this is the first album after Oh Mercy. And Dylan, and it shows Dylan characteristically retreating from that album's mainstream production values and safe terrain and refusing to offer a follow-up. So he basically scrapped the band again, went to all these celebrities that he's working with, and I think it shows. It's like anytime you get that sort of like star-studdedness, you can't tell. Like that could be fucking Slash doing the stuff on.
The other
like he's the one playing that noodly intro to this song. Like. Sure,
There's
why
also
not?
A small solo in that version that I noticed
Which
is
is
not on the Oh Mercy one.
Right. And so it's like, hey, Slash, come play on God Knows.
Right.
Like, this is totally on brand with Guns N' Roses. Cool. Which is bizarre, although I guess they do cover him.
They do that Bob Dylan song.
They do cover him.
That I thought was a Guns N' Roses
Knocking on
song.
Heaven's Door, right. So, I mean, I get Slash, like, wanting to come and do it.
Right.
And the Wilburys are certainly hitting a peak that, he's not going to get back to until 1997 when he disappears for a while.
The Traveling Wilburys is the super group with like Tom Petty.
With Tom Petty, Orbison, Jeff Beck, and George Harrison.
Oh. And Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Would I
They're
know a
actually
song of theirs?
Handled with Care, probably.
Everybody's got somebody to lean on. Put your body next to mine and dream on.
I've been bumped up and I've been fooled.
Yeah, but otherwise, that's kind of it. I mean, God is a weird thing, and I feel like talking about religion is strange. It's something you kind of have to come to. Today is not the day. I think talking about important things like that, or just spirituality, or whatever you want to do with that, deserves a better song. Of all the Bob Dylan's religious songs, this is not up there in my mind. So
I would imagine if he had a whole like period where he was very religious, that we'll have an
this was
somewhere that we could talk about it
right
in a way that like the theology, not us being inside of it, because we're
right.
neither of us are religious, but even just from an intellectual standpoint or just
yeah.
as a musical standpoint, I'm sure there's a way we could have a better.
Well, that's why I enjoy reading and I like seeing, and right off the bat, it's the whole thing with You Ain't Pretty. It's just like instantly jarring where you're just like, oh man, all right, I got to read this in a different way, because you start over here, God Knows I Need You. Lovely. I'm on board,
That's why Oh Mercy one's better.
I know, and I think coarseness is something that with Bob, not only is his voice coarse, and sometimes his chords can be coarse and different. He's a very different musician and artist, and I think it begs this sort of in-depthness that we're trying to give it here at Sign on the Window.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for stopping in. But otherwise, I think note-wise, I think that's it. I think I'll just leave with a final thing. I think Michael Gray had the best interpretation of all of this. So I'm just going to leave with a final quote about the fading out. He says, quote, "The best thing about God Knows being the way the shape of the song mocks the sermonizing inside of it, perhaps unintentionally. The singer has to rant more and more to squeeze the lines in as it works itself up like a sermon. And as soon as he starts the rant, they start fading him out. For the listener, it's as if you're slowly but surely closing the door on a Jehovah's Witness." It's perfect.
Amazing.
It's like, all right, Bob. Cool, Bob.
That's great. But
cool.
God knows.
God knows I'm ready. God knows you're hard to find. God knows you're standing right there before my very eyes, messing up my mind.
All right. So, any final thoughts on this song? I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, King of France is fun because we get to put our own, sort of draw whatever we want because there's nothing there. But it certainly wasn't, it's not like Don't Try Me Now. That's almost like, I don't know.
It was fun enough that the Oh Mercy version, like I said, the little jangly guitar and having the Muppet vision wasn't bad.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was listenable.
Yeah.
And it was fine. All right, and so obviously we spend the week with a Bob Dylan song that we choose at random. So before we pick next week's song, which is always my absolute favorite part of the show, we're going to go ahead and recommend stuff for the week. So I was actually gone last week. I was in Virginia. Had a great time. Went to Yorktown, went to Gettysburg, basically took every direction and just drove in it. And I had a great time. So we didn't actually do an episode last week, which was great to take a little bit of a break, and I'm sure Kelly appreciated the break. So yeah, so we had a little bit more time with the song, as you can tell from this wonderfully researched, just deep dive into theology. But we did have a lot that happened within the 2 weeks that we've sort of been off and sort of fixing the website and kind of doing all the admin stuff that we have to do. So Kelly, over these 2 weeks with this song, what were you feeling?
I watched all of Master of None season 2 because that just came out.
Watched the whole thing on the plane back to Virginia a couple days ago. Back from Virginia.
Right.
Well, I watched the first 2 going to, and I thought, Netflix, you can download them now. And I was like, I just need to. I can occupy myself with other things. So it's like, I'm going to do some editing for podcasts. I'm going to do some this. I'm going to listen to podcasts. And then I was just like, I'm desperately tired, and the person I'm sitting next to is like really in my space, and so I need to like get over all the way up against the window. I was like, I need something, and all I had was 2 episodes of Master of None, so I watched the first 2 twice.
Oh man!
Because I just couldn't, and I was so mad at myself. So I was like, no, just download the entire season. So I just watched the entire thing. So I've seen episodes 1 and 2 3 times now.
Oh my god!
I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your take on it?
All the Italy stuff.
So
cool. I mean, actually, going to Italy and having a very similar car experience. We did not get our car stuck in an alley, but we may as well. I felt like we were going to.
Well, what about that food?
The food.
I know you guys were loving it.
The best meal of my life.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Master of None has this weird thing with me. It feels really intimate and personal, and I can't explain the feeling. Master of None and a couple of other movies like Lost in Translation and a couple of things make me sad. Melancholy, I think, is the best word for it. It makes me nostalgic for a life that I'm not sure I lived. And that's the only way I can describe it. It feels so familiar. It feels like it's a past I wish I had, but also that maybe I did have. Like where I want to insert parts of this into my life, but did that actually happen? It's just like this. It makes I can't explain this feeling, but it makes me feel that every time I watch it.
Here's the deal. She's straight, but lately I've been getting some serious vibes from her.
Ooh, vibes that she wants to become a lesbian?
Vibes that she's curious about an adventure with Denise.
All right, I'm in. I'm your wingman.
Oh, here she comes. Be cool.
Denise.
Hey, Kyla.
Who is this?
I don't know this dude. Come on, let's get a drink.
Because it's so realistic. It really skirts that line of realism and being sad and realism and optimism.
He was so sad this season.
I know, but it felt good. It felt good in that like melancholy way. Like this is familiar, even if it's not happy. It feels right and it feels familiar. I don't know. I don't know how to describe that feeling. The best way I can say it's like it makes me nostalgic for a life I'm not sure that I lived.
That's interesting.
And,
I like that.
And like that show and Lost in Translation, and there might be a couple others, give me that very specific feeling that I don't have a name for. So I love it. Anyway, the show's great. You should watch it. That's my recommendation. It was Master of None season 2.
Yeah.
And the first one, obviously, too, if you've never watched the show.
Yeah. No, it's lovely. It's beautiful. Anything that he's ever done is just on point. And I just want to recommend two albums we're not even going to really talk that much about because I'm still sort of listening to them. One of them, both of these I listened to when I was in Virginia. Waves released another record, I think their 6th album. It's called You're Welcome, just kind of a fun surf rock, sort of punk rock type of vibe. And then somebody that I think a lot of, if you love Bob Dylan and you love even like the 60s Bob Dylan, which who doesn't love that? Someone named Daniel Romano, who I've listened to since he was just sort of a folk country troubadour, is now making like the best record that never made it to 1968 because he wasn't alive.
As the tide rolls up beyond the walking trail, soon I'm hibernating every mocking gale. React to it at your leisure, my impression.
Mono, Waves, Howdy from last week. I'm only reminded of Howdy because Waves is
With
WAVV. And and also Master of None. Boom.
Yeah.
Done and done. All right. The time has come. Dun, dun,
Pick
dun.
the song. First, delete the
Dun,
song.
dun,
Please, dear God, delete the song.
What song did we listen to? God knows. God knows. All right. So we're going to go random.org. 1 out of 652. And that number will be different next week. So
It feels like the number never goes down.
I know.
The day
This
that you
episode,
stop
what,
saying
13?
600, it will be such a great
next
day.
year.
Oh my God.
All right, 652. Well, no, because we're gonna drop probably a good 20, so we'll be in the 630s before we know it. Jesus. All right, so 652. Kelly,
My guess.
you have to guess it. Now, what happens if you guess it right?
We didn't discuss that. I
I
don't
know. I think we need to figure it out. You either get to choose or you get to do whatever.
If I guess the song, we, instead of doing the song, get to do a song from a band that I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. So it'll never happen. So that's the truth. So keep hoping.
But
All
if
right.
it does, that's the rule.
It'll be amazing.
Okay.
All right, cool. So 1 out of 652. What's your number?
Did you already do it?
I clicked it now.
43.
Woo. 594. Couldn't have been more off.
Close.
But you know what? You make good podcasting stuff by scrolling. Scroll. What number are you saying again? 43? All right. 43 would have been a great song, Seven Curses, which is on the first bootleg series 1 through 3. So that was a 60s song. Just him and a guitar. Beautiful song, actually.
I would have
really
loved
been
that.
great. Yeah, that would have been a great one. So 594. Let's see what garbage we get to listen to this week. Oh, we get another great song, Wallflower, off of the same bootleg series, volume 1 through 3. Basically the same time. I think this was a outtake of possibly John Wesley Harding into like Nashville Skyline. I'm Not There. So 67 to 70. Very beautiful song. Not very lyrically intense, but very pretty. And I think there might be a version or two out there.
Wasn't that the name of Jake
volume 10.
Dylan's band?
The Wallflowers. No, this one's really good. So we'll go ahead. This won't make the podcast, but we'll do the thing that we do where we play a little
Why
bit of the
wouldn't it
song.
make the podcast?
Well, because it's copyright.
Oh.
Yeah, I told you. I don't think
We
it's.
could just
I don't
do
think it's
30
just metadata. I think it's also Shazam technology.
Okay, well, we can do 30 seconds.
Excuse me.
Listen to 30 seconds.
All right, we'll do that. All right, so there, Jesus. All right. All right, so here's Wallflower. I'm gonna play the one from the bootleg series, although there is one on two bootlegs. There's one from Another Self-Portrait, Volume 10, and there's one from 1 through 3. So this is the one that would have theoretically been on a record. So here we go. You ready?
So one of these should be on Spotify.
Oh, I think both of them are.
Okay,
so
cool.
Wallflower. Oh, well, actually, Another Self-Portrait probably not. So I will give you that one. But one is definitely. This one is definitely on there.
So country. Oh, man. Oh, Bob Dylan, sing me a Patsy
Get
Cline
that.
song.
Dev could be listening to this on his headphones.
No one can see that. We're just rocking back and
We're just
forth.
we got our lighter sound.
Side to side, I should say.
With you. Great. And it only gets better from there. So that's it. So Wallflower next week. All right. So we've reached the end. God Knows is in the books. Wallflower is next week. I love the song. It's going to be fantastic. So we're going to dive deep into it. We're going to be doing a playlist this week as well. So if you are inclined, please follow along as we go, because we're basically just going to put a bunch of songs about flowers. We're going to probably have a couple Wallflower songs on there. Yeah.
The one Wallflower song?
Exactly.
Come on, try that song, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know.
That's the one song, right?
Well, they have like
Nothing's
albums and albums and albums.
Really? They had more than
Oh,
that?
they have so many. Yeah, Jacobs, he's still rolling, man. They're like a major touring band. They still play.
Bet I would like them.
You probably
I'm
would.
all about the 90s garbage.
Yeah, there you go. So we're gonna listen to some '90s garbage
Yay!
on our playlist.
Ooh, can we listen to garbage from the 90s?
We can, and we can also find all the Wallflowers and all flower songs. So this week is all about flowers. So we're gonna learn a lot about flowers, and I think you're going to tell us about flowers next week. The process
a challenge.
of flowers being made, or wallflowers. What's a wallflower? I guess it's just a person sitting in the perks of being a wallflower.
Right. We have a lot of material.
We have a lot of material. Listen, next week, if you thought this week was dull, next week is going to be amazing.
Botany and etymology. Ooh, it's not etymology. The word, like how words?
Oh,
is it etymology?
It's etymology. I don't know.
That sounds wrong.
It sounds wrong.
Etymology also kind of sounds like the bug thing. No, it's etymology.
Yeah.
Right?
Endocrinology is definitely something up the butt or something.
Not the butt.
Okay.
The glands.
All right, so join us next week. You can find us at SOTW Pod everywhere. Our website's cool because we have little essay show notes for you to gorge yourself with Bob Dylan related news and stuff. We also post photos.
Like you're doing this weird hand motion.
I know.
Like you're stirring a cauldron.
I'm stirring a cauldron of Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan also just celebrated his birthday. Happy birthday, Bob Dylan. 76th yesterday.
Happy birthday,
what did
Bob
you
Dylan.
do for Bob Dylan's birthday?
I found out about it today.
Cool. So happy birthday, Bob. We're going to go enjoy bunker. No, we're out of the bunker. Not bunker weather. We're out of the bunker.
Classic not bunker weather.
Goodbye. Oh, I didn't stop it. Every time I just you hit the space bar and it wants to play the song, which is comedic. But then I had it on the search bar.